pleasure of helping you with your final journey and your internment. I'm going to ask everyone to kind of have a seat and get comfortable. I'll orient you. I don't know if any of you have been to Arlington. It's please have a seat. We're going to be here for the next half an hour or so. So have a seat and relax. So this is, I know that Jack has already had a wonderful memorial service. Please, seriously, have a seat and relax. Our job here today, we have the family room until just before 9 o'clock. I hope everyone's parked in lane number 2. Afterwards, once the representative gets us, we're going to drive out together. It's a glorious day. Jack has, as deservedly so, full honors. We're going to have our family sharing. I'm going to open it up in a minute so you can start thinking. Like I said, we have about half an hour, so if you want to briefly, in celebration of a send-off in his journey, if you want to share a memory or a quality about Jack that, what I always find in these settings, even the closest to family members, they don't realize the impact that someone had on their beloved, and there might be a story that you've never heard before, and it provides comfort. So I'm going to start just in no particular reason other than I saw this handsome gentleman. He was here first. He's like, I served with Jack. So if he served with Jack, then I think you can kick it off well. So if you could just say your name, where you're from, your connection to Jack, and maybe what we can do is kind of compile a list of beautiful qualities. If you've already heard it, of course, you can say it's been said, but let's kind of make a beautiful send-off for Jack. So just, if you would kick us off.
I'm Michael Robinson from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I was with Jack on Medina, and we kind of saved our butt on Medina, actually. And although when Jack took over our platoon, because Lieutenant Nelson got hurt pretty bad, pretty seriously wounded, and the vividly I remember is every year, ever since Medina, we celebrate on the 12th. And so Jack would call me every year. And I think last year he was drunk. But he sounded really happy. But what a great Marine. I mean, it was more than a pleasure to serve with him. I don't want to go into detail because it really gets kind of gory. But very good Marine.
Thanks for sharing. Good morning. If you're just coming in, if you can have a seat or just come in a little bit closer. We're sharing some memories before we head out for the internment at 9 o'clock.
My name is Dennis Antill. I'm from Akron, Ohio. And I can't call him Jack. It's always Mr. Ruffer. And Mr. Ruffer was with me for a couple of months, but it lasted my whole life. He got us through one of the darkest days of our life. I'm just going to visit and call him every October.
Thanks for sharing.
My name is Ron Koss. I'm from Springfield, Ohio. I was trying not to cry. Josh, afterwards, that night, he stood up, and an enemy grenade bounced off his back. And that's when he got hit. And but he stood up, and he said, "Up that hill, you magnificent blanks."
Sure. The best way of honoring him is to be authentic. So don't hold back.
Spit it out.
You can spit it out.
He said, "Up that hill, you magnificent bastards." And he started singing. We started singing Marine Corps hymn, and we just went up the hill shooting.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I'm attached to Quantico also. So
there you go.
I've heard of all.
Okay. And so years later, I said, "Thank you," and I'm same as Dennis. I've never called any of my officers by their first name. He was either sir or major to me. That night he was a second lieutenant. He reminded me of that. He said, "Call me last October," and every year And he said, Ronnie, you realize I was 24 years old that night? And he said, tonight I'm 74. And he said, you guys called me Grandpa, remember? We were 18. And he also, I thank him for saving our lives for doing that. And he said, let me tell you one thing, Corporal. He said, a Marine Corps officer is only as good as the men he leads. And I always treasured that. I'm an alcoholic, 4 years and 8 months, no drink. But anyway, I think it was like 3 years ago, and it was like the first year I've been sober. And he called, Ron, I know you got something around the house to have a toast with. I said, yes, sir. I had a heart to tell him. I went out to the refrigerator, got a bottle of water. And he had some $800 scotch.
Yeah,
And,
same bottle every year.
So, and you have bought, Pat, you have bought him a fresh bottle that cost even more than that, than the one he had. But he's a great man. I love him dearly. He'll always be in my life.
Well, I work at Fort Belvoir within the residential treatment program, so my blessing for you is to help Jack's memory. I wish you success in the rest of your recovery for the rest of your life.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
My name's Ed Yates, also known as Rowdy.
Yep.
And,
I don't know why.
and I'm from Bowling Green, Kentucky. I've got a lot of memories of Jack's, not just one. Pat knows. The best memory I have, and the one that scared me to death the most, was that night sitting up on that hillside on the other side of the perimeter from Jack. And it's hotter than heck, and darker and all get out. And it's triple canopy jungle. You couldn't see 5 feet. And all of a sudden up the hillside you hear some idiot singing the Marine Corps hymn. Literally, I mean, what the shit going on? and you know, everybody just knew, at least they're in the platoon, just knew that, man, we're in a world of hurt. Because somebody's singing the hymn. And we found out later it was Jack. But you won't believe how motivational that was. Because at that time there was no way they were going to overrun us, do anything else. And what people didn't realize till later, that Jack motivated his platoon to where they counterattacked the NVA.
Yeah.
And what a lot of folks don't know, Jack's platoon was out of ammunition. And they mounted bayonets and e-tools, and that's how they counterattacked. And you know something, them suckers did it. They pushed them back without losing a man at that point. Jack was always asking me years afterward if I've got any moonshine left. Because he knows I drink moonshine.
Turpentine.
It's not turpentine, it's good stuff. And in fact, I got a gallon under my bed right now. But that's one of the memories of Jack. And then Jack and I worked together for, I don't know how long, Pat, on the Charlie Company memorial page on the internet, where we listed all the KIAs we had in the company, the years we were in the battalions in Vietnam. And that was a long, drawn out thing. I probably would have given up on it because it's frustrating. But Jack was the motivation around it. I mean, he kept pushing, Rowdy, you gotta get this up right now. And I was a webmaster. 2 o'clock in the morning, I did not feel like working on a webpage. So, but y'all know how Jack was. He wanted something done, he wanted it done.
Yeah.
But those, just some of the memories I have of Jack, and I got a few others, but I don't wish to relate.
Well, thank you for sharing the humor. Let's, we've got about 20, 25 minutes. If you can kind of keep it to, I love hearing the humor, but at least no more than about 2 minutes a person, so everyone can have a chance. Yeah.
My name's George Doherty. I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
All right, the mother country. Yes. Are you a Dodger fan, or did you? My family, when they moved to Los Angeles, said Cottage.
After they left, my father never mentioned the
There
Dodgers
you
again.
go. There you go.
You can say a lot about Jack. Not all of them were good things. He was tough. He was a Mustang. worked his way up. I wasn't a big Jack fan before Medina, but after Medina, I loved him. 3 times we lost the LT, and he led a counterattack all 3 times. Good man.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm Terry Gerba from Brookfield, Ohio. Served with Jack and Charlie 1-1. Most I can say briefly is I was the dumbest 18-year-old you could have run across. He kind of took mercy on me and at one point threatened to either court-martial me or recommend me for OCS. It was a toss-up. Run either way. But I just always remember that encounter because I was kind of scared. Because I didn't know which was going to be worse, a court-martial or OCS. So it was just
Probably OCS.
probably OCS. Yeah. But it was a fond memory.
Thank you for sharing.
My name's Connie Gerba. I didn't meet Jack until about 4 years ago. And at the time, we had my niece with us for one of the reunions. And you guys have gone to the reunions. It's a lot like herding cats. And she was 14, 15 at the time, so she was helping. Jack wrote an absolutely phenomenal letter for her that the school gave her full credit for community service. So it was really awesome.
Sir.
My name is Ken. I am married to Jack's sister, so that made him my brother-in-law. And I felt my job was to completely harass him.
What was it like the first time you met him? Do you remember?
If I was younger, I'd have been scared. but I was a little older, so it didn't have that fear in me. So I figured I'd try to find a weak spot in him, and just one short story and give you an idea of how I tried to make his life miserable. Is I think one of the last times we were at their home and we were leaving to go back to the airport, and he came out walking us out and saying goodbye. And I said, "What's that on your license plate?" And he said, "That's a Purple Heart." I said, "Does that mean you messed up?" And listening to these stories now, I'm really surprised he didn't kill me.
Day ain't over.
Good morning, everyone. We're blessed to have our representative from Arlington who's going to share a couple of words and orient us since we're all lined up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Antoinette Kennedy. I'm from Arlington National Cemetery. Certainly want to welcome you all here, as well as extend my condolences. I just want to go over a brief.
The again succeeded in penetrating one section of the perimeter. Captain Ruffer was wounded by a concussion grenade, which detonated within 2 feet of him. Despite his painful injury, he quickly organized his platoon, fearlessly led his men in a counterattack that routed the enemy, leaving 4 of his dead within friendly lines, and 11 dead along the perimeter. So, being shell shocked and having just, after days of grueling combat, carrying another Marine to safety 30 meters, go ahead and reorganizes, gets his bearings about him, and assaults the enemy and reestablishes the perimeter, saving who knows how many other people. So, a true badass, somebody who was strong under fire, and then the federal agreement don't have a single Marine. So, that's not a good reason to come out here and give our all for this victory. So, I don't know others. That's all I have. It's I'll show the gentleman respect to the reserves.
Everyone stand. Everybody fall back to place.
That's gonna take a lot longer.
Press!
Forward, do your thing. Unsnap everything. Ready, turn. Hard. Rest. And get ready to pull it off. Detail, attend, huh! Hand, salute. Ready, two. Rest. 5, 4.
Ceremonial!
Ceremonial meeting, you gotta back up the line. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand right in the middle of the road. Ladies and gentlemen, direct your attention forward to the caisson as well as the hearse.
Detail, attend, huh! Escort! Attend, huh! Move up. Forward. Hand, salute.
Hey, set, hook!
Pray, sent. Out.
yes, they have a flyover. I'm not sure. I'll let Rabbi know.
Is there a rabbi?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's back there with everyone.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
Always something or another. That's a foregone conclusion.
About 3 minutes, you want to look to the sky, then fly over what takes place.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, up. If you can direct your attention forward to the caisson.
And salute.
Sidestep. On. Ready. Lower. Center. On. Forward. On. On. On.
Ready, two. Left turn. March.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to follow behind.
Center. On.
And salute.
Sidestep. On.
Please come around.
Ready. Lower. Secure.
Ready, two. Rest.
Everyone else, please gather behind the green chair. Behind the stand.
Holster! Ceremonial!
Stop. Ceremonial. Peace. Stuff. Pray. Sent. Home.
Hand. Salute.
Stuff. Order. Home. Order. Home.
7 of the 21 shell casings that we just fired. We accept them as another symbol of our appreciation. And on behalf of me and my family, I just want to tell you and yours, thank you for all your support and sacrifices. It's truly appreciated. You're very welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Ready. Step towards my right. Center. Hot.
Right, hey,
Forward. Hot. 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 Hot.
We've reached Jack's final interment. We've had amazing full honors. I'm going to recite some prayers, and then afterwards we're going to have the final interment of the body. We have actually some earth from the ground. In Jewish tradition, we come from the earth, we come from the dust, and we return to the dust. If you like afterwards, we usually have a shovel, but it's actually even appropriate with your hands. If you want, you can sprinkle some earth over the casket. Afterwards, I will stay afterwards, and the immediate family, if they want to, can stay afterwards for the final interment. Mizmor LaDavid, Adonai ro'i v'lo echsar, b'no deshe yerbitzeni al mavet. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me to beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. You prepare before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil, and my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. Say amen. Just a couple of brief words from what you've shared, and then I'm going to ask Greg to share some brief words. From Jack, I've gotten to understand, in talking to the family and listening, similar to the Marine Corps, he never retreated, right? You'd never know the word of quitting. You just find an alternative way. When your back is against the wall, you're a devil dog. You fight your way out and you lead. You lead by example, and the two qualities that I heard that kept resonating were leadership and empathy. Some people like to lead by blustering. Sounds like he led by example.
Beautiful ceremony. First of all, thank you those who made the trek out here. It's much appreciated.
behalf of my mother, my sisters, and myself, thank you so much. You know, we live our lives hoping to have an impact on others. And it may be a whole lifetime, maybe one day, maybe one night in Vietnam, where you change the path of other people's lives. But when I was young, I used to hear about my father at a younger age when he was playful, creative, and had a great imagination. And that man went away for a while. And some years ago, he met a man named Doyle Glass that gave him a second life. Doyle had him look at his military career, which he never wanted to talk about with his family. Understood the sacrifices that he and his men made. And it revitalized him. It gave him life, gave him purpose again. So thank you for that, Doyle. And therefore I had a father and a grandfather to my children. So a Marine he was and will always be. To grow up in the household was strict, but with love. And it wasn't one night that made my father, it was an entire lifetime of people like you and friends and family that made him who he was. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Rabbi. Shalom.
Please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, המנצם נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, בממלות קדושים וטהרים כזוהר הרקיע, את נשמת יעקב בן רות and Victor, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתו. אנא ברחמים הסתירנו בסתר כנפי לעולמים, וצרור בצור בחיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו וינוח בשלום על משכנבו ונאמר Amen. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Yaakov, son of Ruth Ann and Victor, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one, Jack, find peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he find rest and peace. And let us say, Amen. There's one final prayer called the Kaddish, which is simply a prayer that actually exalts life. It doesn't talk about death. It talks about celebration. And even though life was taken shorter than we'd like, it's still a wonderful celebration. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yurteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ולמי המאיה. יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ותאמן ויתנשא, ותדר ותעלה ותעלה שמי לקודשה וריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, ואמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. ועושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו. Please be seated. I'm going to ask those who want to, whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, it's the two things in the Jewish religion that you can do are the best mitzvot, the highest commandments. One, which is interesting, you actually are commanded to make the bridegroom and the bride happy. And the second, it's a one-way street. The party can't thank you, so it's the most unconditional act you can do, and the final act of giving rest. So if you like, you can come over, take a handful of earth and sprinkle it on the coffin.
guide the men who fly through all great spaces of the sky. Be with them traversing the air in darkening storms and sunlight fair. Oh, hear us when